Okay, here's just to catch up for other people to catch up is I met you up in Ojai, and Mary's in my home, and I think that's where we actually met because you were producing and acting in a film called The One I Love, directed by Mary's son, Charlie McDowell.
Yes.
And Elizabeth Moss was in it.
Yep.
And I had a little part. I was in it too.
You were.
And what just blew me away, there's so many things to talk about, but your model, I had never heard of your and Jay's model of producing a film, making a film. Here's what I heard, so I don't know if it's true, and if it's okay to mention how much you actually spent.
Absolutely.
Because you could turn around and sell it for way the fuck more. So I think Charlie was saying, don't tell everybody.
It's okay. Okay. Because that model is dead. That doesn't work anymore. So we can talk about it. It doesn't work,
or you just don't...
You don't sell them for as much anymore, so it's not like we're saying something that's a current business model that we would spoil.
All right. So it was $100,000.
It was.
You paid everybody on the set X amount. I don't remember, but it was
$125 a day, and that was mandated because the actors union for that budget level requires that you make at least $125 a day. So we took this sort of socialist approach that said, well, okay, so everybody on set should make that, whether you're the director or whether you're the movie star or whether you are the PA or the sound person. Everybody's going to make $125 a day, period. And then some people will get a little more back end. Elizabeth Moss.
But everybody gets back in.
Everybody gets back in, yeah. Some get more than others because, it's fair. Elizabeth Moss was a huge star on Mad Men at that point, and so we gave her a big chunk of the back end.
And probably your DP.
Exactly, yeah.
Right. And the people whose house you were filming in, I think
they got like I don't know. No,
I think we got an eighth.
An eighth of a point. But you lost that much in all the oranges that my kids took off your trees when they came to visit. They made so much orange juice, Ted.
Everybody who would come visit us and stay in our guest house would look at it and stop and go, oh shit, maybe I don't want to stay here.
That's right.
Because the guest house is where the magic and all the bad, not good stuff, bad stuff happens.
Some of the nefarious stuff, yeah.
Okay. All right.
And we had sort of grown up, I guess, for lack of a better word, just as outsiders of this industry. And we never felt like, oh my God, there's no way I'm going to be able to make our way in here. No one's ever going to want to read my script or anything like that. And so we always just thought, well, we'll just start making things until eventually one day, hopefully we'll get one into the Sundance Film Festival or something and somebody will start to pay attention. And that's what we did through our teens and through our 20s.
And that was Puppy Chair?
That was our first short, was a short film called This Is John. And it was a big creative breakthrough for us because we were really struggling as artists in our 20s. I think there's this conflation of this is the art that I like to watch. And so you start to make art like the art that you like to watch. But a lot of times that's not who you are and that's not who your voice is. And so we were trying to make art like the Coen brothers because we were like, we love the Coen brothers. They're great. But we weren't good at that. And it wasn't until we sort of had this, really an accidental breakthrough in my brother's kitchen where I improvised this 8-minute short film about a guy trying to perfect the personal greeting of his answering machine.
Right.
And it was the ugliest, worst-sounding short film to ever get into Sundance. It was our parents' video camera with a dead pixel in the center. It's just my brother filming me. No lighting, no sounding, no nothing, And that was our movie that got into Sundance. So I grabbed that as one who was desperately trying to feel relevant does. And I said, I'm just going to use this as my microcosm to move forward. So then we made The Puffy Chair, which was a $10,000 micro-budgeted feature, and had this awesome journey where this is 2005, where, for those of you who know the industry back then, what was happening is you'd make a movie at a Sundance, and then you'd hope to go to Fox Searchlight or Focus Features and make a movie like Sideways or Juno that would ideally go out and win the Academy Award.
Right.
And so I showed up at Searchlight and I was like, I'm ready. Let's go.
After the great reception.
After the great reception of The Puffy Chair. And I did make a couple of movies. We made this wonderful movie, Cyrus, with John C. Reilly and Jonah Hill.
Very fun.
And Jeff Who Lives at Home with Susan Sarandon and Jason Segel. And my brother and I were able to make what we wanted to make, but we had to really take some dings to the spirit and the soul to do it.
Both those two that you just mentioned, you wrote.
We wrote and directed them.
Produced.
The whole shebang. But it was with like $7 to $10 million of other people's money. It was like the first time we were doing studio stuff. And just the amount of, not just the notes that you get, but the amount of talking and explaining of every idea and having to justify what you do and fighting for certain things in the cut that you want to get done. It was pretty clear. My brother and I kind of looked at each other after those two movies and we were like, okay, we can do this. It's working, but I don't think we're going to last. Like, I think, we're giving out more in our spirits that are being fulfilled. And I think that burnout is coming. So what are we going to do here? And we got really honest with ourselves and sort of said, I just miss when we were making the puffy chair. And I miss when we were making Baghead, when it was like, I was cooking breakfast for everybody in the morning. We were all shooting in the same house and sleeping in the same house. And I was hanging lights and I just felt so young. And it was that's just who we are. So we said, well, why don't we go back? What if we just did that? So we started making movies again for this time at like $100,000. And the one I love was very much like a third or fourth movie in that zone. And I would say one of our most successful films in that movie. People continually stop me for and talk to me about.
Oh, it's fantastic.
They really, and it's a testament to Charlie, your son-in-law, and Justin. I was at that point where I was like, guys, I'm gonna give you $100,000. I brought them this idea because I always loved the movie Starman. I don't know if you ever heard this, but this was my instinct. I was like, okay, I'm starting with Starman. Here's my idea. There's a couple, they're having an argument. She decides she's going to go sleep in the other room. When she goes in the other room, she finds her husband in there, has a conversation with him. He's acting different. That's weird. She comes back into her bedroom, but her husband's still in the other room. Right. The essence of the movie, but no plotting, you know? And I was like, guys, if you can come up with a fleshed out version of this, I'll help you bring a movie star. I'll pay for it. Let's go.
And Justin later.
And Justin later. And like, I used to make that pitch to everybody because everybody was romanticizing how Jay and I were doing things, but they didn't realize how much work and how much free work they were going to have to do in order to get it. And Charlie and Justin were one of the few who came back quickly with something great. And I was like, oh shit, we're going. Yeah, we're going. Yeah.
I loved it when we came to the house and you were shooting. Charlie said, I'm sorry, but you can't stay here. You'll have to check into a motel. There's no space.
There's no space. I was in your room. I'm pretty sure I was in your room. You could have come and snuggled with me.
Now
maybe
we know
on
one of your bigger budget films.
I'm not going to let you ask the next question. You're in charge, but I'm coming in hot with something and I need to do it right here.
Okay, but then we're going to go work backwards, but you go first.
Okay. All right. So there's a story that I tell out in the world, and like most stories that you tell over and over again, I think it gets hyperbolized and heightened and sharpened.
Especially if you're a good storyteller, which you are.
Exactly. So I'm going to tell you a story that I tell everybody when they ask me about what's Ted Danson like.
Look me in the eye and tell me the truth. How many people have really asked you what Ted Danson is like?
They do. They ask me about it.
No, I said how many.
Oh, how many?
Was this once?
I've told this story. I'll be honest. I think I've told this maybe 15 times.
Okay. That's 15 people. All right. That's good.
It's about 15, which is about what you're good for. Yeah. So this is the story. This is the story, everyone. We're going to make the one I love. It turns out beautiful. 6 months later, we get accepted to the Sundance Film Festival. And for one reason or another, Charlie is starting to realize that a lot of his friends and loved ones are not going to be able to be there due to some limitations of their schedules and whatnot. And he calls me and he asks me, was it really important that I had my parents there? Because he had heard all about that stuff at the Puffy Chair premiere. Was that something important, And I said, it's really nice to share. It was a seminal moment for us, And he said, I thought so. And so we're leading up to the festival, and I'm not thinking about it. And Ted's on CSI. I mean, they own him. They bought him out for a pretty penny.
They did indeed.
Yes. And when they say you jump, that's it, And Ted is going to be very much shooting through the Tuesday night of our premiere at Sundance. What I don't know at the time is that Ted goes to the producers of CSI and says, I really need to be here for my son-in-law. I think he needs me there. And they say, well, that's great, Ted, but tough shit because look at your paycheck. So then he goes to the line producer who he knows well and is like, do you think there's a way you could probably carve me out of this schedule? Because I feel like while there are no commercial flights available, if you can get me out at 6 p.m., I can get on a private plane. I can be there for the Q&A. I can be there for the after party, which is not going to start until about 11 p.m. I can stay all the way through the after party, casually, just there as a support system for Charlie, as if I have nowhere to be, and then hop on a private plane a few hours later and be back there for work the next day. And that's the Ted Danson that I tell the story about. How close am I?
This is sad. Remind me who you are.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's quite possible. It's quite possible. Yeah, I mean, and I like the story, so I'm going to go yes.
You just leave it.
But now Charlie will, if he ever does listen to one of these podcasts, will go, no, you didn't, or maybe. But I think that's roughly true.
I can corroborate a few things.
Private jet?
You outlasted me at that party, for sure. And I was like, how is Ted here? And if I was at that party, I would be so nervous about the sleep I was losing and getting to and you were just like so casual and calm and just there for him. And at that time in my life, my kids were 7 and 3. And I remember, I just have to say it. I remember looking at you and just being like, this is how I want to do it.
Well, I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I hope to God it's true. I hope to God it's, as you stated. Can we back? Let's cool.
Back
Thank
it up.
you.
Yeah. And by the way, you can cut this out too. You can just go right back.
No, it was a good story about me. We're keeping it.
Okay.
You're talking as if you came out full-blown producers, writers, directors, artists in this town, trying to figure out how to make it in this town. How did you even get to the point from Louisiana or Austin and being in a band, which I listened to, by the way?
Oh, boy.
Pretty cool.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So great question.
Because,
I grew up in the suburbs of New Orleans with my brother, just the two of us, 4 years apart. He's 4 years older, even though he looks 10 years younger, which really pisses me off, but we're working on that. And we were of the generation where HBO was magically piped in around 1983 or 1984. Right. And I'm like 7 or 8 years old at this point. And it probably the most definitive curational force in my life was the fact that I would come home from school at 3:00. HBO was not thinking about what time to air things. They just had a bunch of movies and they threw them up there. So at 3:30, I'd roll in, I'd catch the second half of Kramer versus Kramer. I'd roll right into Sophie's Choice, and then I'd catch some Annie Hall, and I was getting all this incredible adult programming.
You and Jay?
Jay and I, yeah, both of us, yeah. We would, we were deeply affected by adult post-divorce ennui at a very young age. We loved it. And we always thought, God, okay, I kind of want to be creative. I kind of want to figure this out. But there were no models for filmmakers. And while there probably were independent filmmakers in that post-John Cassavetes area, there's no internet. We have no access to this. So the only model I can see of a successful artist are these sort of troubadour, like blues, jazz, and funk musicians that have their residencies in New Orleans, and they play Monday night and they make $200. And so I was like, music, that's going to be the thing.
But artists.
Yes, right. And so we're just like, let's do this. So we started, taking drum lessons, and then we picked up guitar and started playing that. And Jay and I were playing in bands together, and nothing particularly special, but developing our creative process, learning how to write songs, playing gigs at little coffee shops, seeing that the songs aren't working that well, going back, workshopping them, all the stuff that kind of leads up to, a life in the arts. Then in 1991, Jay got a scholarship to go to the University of Texas in Austin. And the lid got blown off because our world really opened up. I'm 14, Jay's 18.
And tied to the hip, right? You guys,
tied
you
to
love
the
him.
fucking hip.
He loves you.
This is my guy.
Yeah.
And all credit to Jay. What little brother doesn't want to hang out with the older brother? Jay was the one who included me.
Yeah.
And he got some stuff from it. He got pure, unadulterated adoration. He was also, at the time, I think, a little more nervous and unsteady in the world, and I was a little more bombastic and confident. So we had a nice little combo, a little Mutt and Jeff thing there. But when he went to Austin, and we started to see Richard Linklater and Robert Rodriguez taking $7,000 of credit cards or selling their blood and making their movies. And they didn't look like Jean-Luc Godard. They didn't have a beret. They were wearing ratty t-shirts and tennis shoes and jeans, and they looked like post-high school athletes like us.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit. I don't have to smoke a skinny cigarette to be a filmmaker. Like, I can just be who I am. That was huge.
And you're in Austin too.
And I am living in New Orleans still with my parents.
But communicating.
And literally, I get my license at 15 in New Orleans. So by my freshman year, Jay had left his car home. I'm driving up to Austin 500 miles every other weekend just I can be with him, see this world, have my mind blown. So I spend the next 3 years.
So you're on track, full on. This is what
I'm going to do.
Without declaring it, maybe, but this is what you're going to do.
I think we've pretty much declared that, like, it's going to be a life in the arts. Now I'm pragmatic. I grew up Catholic. I went to this really high Jesuit school. It was a very pressure cooker thing, and all those guys went to, they graduated from college and they were making really good salaries, and so. I got a lot of good academic rigor out of that school. And I did learn eventually how to apply that structure and rigor to my creative process. And that's been huge for me. It's just like those ridiculous study rules, those times when you're just like, I can't even imagine doing this. When I turned around and had kids in my late 20s, and I was like, I only have 2.5 collective hours today, which is their 3 naps spread out to be creative. Jesuit prepared me. It was just like, well, that's what you do. You're going to get fucking organized. And like, one of those is going to be while you're exercising, you're going to be thinking about what you're doing. And then you're going to go ahead and write it down. And then you're going to be walking around with the baby and the Bjorn, talking out the rest of the script into a dictaphone. Like, that was really good for me. But I didn't know any of this when I'm 15 and Jay's 18. I'm just like, I want to live a life in the arts somehow.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to college in Austin with Jay, and I'm going to get a degree in English literature. I love reading, and I'm going to plan on being a professor who loses money making his art. That was literally the goal, because I could see that as practical. I was like, yep, I can like
make enough to do that.
Yes, and I'll make my, $72,000 a year, and they send you wherever you go as a professor. You get stuck out somewhere that maybe you don't want to be, and I'll just make independent films and music that loses money. This is what I'll do. And then something interesting happened, which is the technology at the time of filmmaking started to shift, and we started being able to edit on computers on these Avids. And so Jay and I were like, whoa, we're here now.
Still in Austin.
Still in Austin. I'm 19. Jay's 20. Okay. Jay's 23. He's just graduated. I'm still in school, but the Jesuit high school they put us so far forward. I had 62 hours of college credit before I even came into the school with my AP courses and everything. So I was barely in school. I was just there because my middle class background dictated you should stay in school or else you've done something wrong. And so Jay and I realized, okay, we can start to make money as editors here. So I got a job, and so did Jay for a while, editing a church television show. And I would work nights from like 9 p.m. to like 7 in the morning, 2 shifts a week, make enough money to, cover my $250 a month in shared rent. And
was it the sermons or what were you editing?
like, if you ever I don't know, this was in Texas, but they would just, there was this big kind of mega church outside of town. Right. And yes, they would shoot the sermons, and then they would also have little side videos, and they would say
any skits or things.
No, but there were some musicians that would show up.
Right.
And they didn't have a lot of money, and they were paying me $15 an hour, which at the time I was like, this is a gold mine, Yeah. And then I didn't realize how much they were probably taking advantage of me, but still, it worked. But we got really good on the machine, got really fast. Then Jay and I decided, okay, we're going to sell off the cars that we had, buy cheaper cars so we can buy an Avid, and we'll start an editing business. And then we started editing every film in town.
I'm so sorry. I'm such an airhead. Avid, are you editing tape or?
We're on computers for the first time, which is how we're getting this work, because the older generation was good at tape, and they got a little phased out. And we were,
it was digital, and you could edit it very quickly. Okay,
exactly.
Thank you.
Sorry. So being, I was only 21 at the time or so, but we were kind of at the forefront of it a little bit. And we always said to ourselves, this is great. We will use this to help make our own movies, Meanwhile, I'm still a musician at this point. I'm still touring, anywhere from 60 to 120 days out of the year. Some of it, I'm doing a singer-songwriter thing, just selling CDs out of the back of a van. Sometimes I would have a little label. I had this band, Volcano, I'm Still Excited. That was moderately successful, but still splitting $173 between three guys and sleeping on floors kind of thing.
Colleges, bars.
That whole shebang, yeah. But I am, I guess I didn't really think about this. I'm juggling two very unsustainable, economically unsafe careers.
Right.
at once.
Filmmaker, musician.
Exactly. That's my backup career. So wait a minute. Something is not right here. And it was somewhere around this time frame where I think I started to develop what I call my Salieri moment with music. So Salieri was the guy who
was
so obsessed with Mozart because he knew he would never be it. Right. And I started to see musicians out there who were younger than me, who were working a lot less hard than I was, and they were just really great. And I was like, okay, I might be maxing out at a B- here. And I don't know, I love it, it's the love of my life, but I don't know if I want to live like this. This may not be smart for me. And luckily, at that time, that was right around the same time I met Katie, who's my girlfriend at the time, is now my wife. And I started thinking, I also don't want to be out on the road touring. It's not good for the relationship. And I was missing Jay when I would go out on the road. It just wasn't working. And then technology intervened a second time for me, who's this little, technology has been this little ghost of Christmas past, present, and future that visits me as Scrooge throughout my life.
I remember the lighting package that you came to our house with was minuscule.
Nothing. So what happened was, and I was aware, because as a musician, I was 10 years too late with the technology. They were making great sounding digital recorded records on their computer when I was 12. And by the time I got there, it was kind of all used up.
Right.
And then when I'm 26, this camera lands in my lap. It's the first digital camera that shoots things that look like film. It only costs $3,000. So now to make an independent film, as opposed to Linklater and Rodriguez, those guys are shooting on 16 millimeter, or Cassavetes shooting on 35 millimeter. I can make a movie for the cost of a tape in this camera.
And they needed a big lighting package.
They needed a little bit of a bigger lighting package, back then. And digital was less. So I was like, all right, Jay, well, let's go for it. Let's do what we did. Let's buy the camera. And then so we bought the camera, and we were renting it out to pay it off.
How much?
It was $3,000.
Okay,
and
that's real.
And we would rent it out for $75 a day, just continually just trying to get it paid off. And luckily that it was sort of the same time. I say luckily, maybe it was serendipity, that we had made that first little cheapy short film I was telling you about that went to Sundance. So I think that was the first time where I was like, okay, it's time. Like, this is my Excalibur moment. I just pulled this camera out of the stone. And if we're going to do this, I've got a very sharpened sense of my artistic process through all those years, editing bad movies, making my own music. I can still live off of $300 a month in my cheap apartment. I don't have the weight to carry of a family yet. Let's fucking go. Like, this is going to be our time.
Okay, freeze.
Yeah.
That's amazing, by the way. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's very cool. So not everybody gets to wake up and then have all of those desires and inclinations and talents and everything and determination just be at their fingertips. So can you look earlier? Are your parents giving you anything that made you and your brothers able to be these kind of people?
I think they're definitive in this process.
How?
Okay, couple of things. One, a lot of these are come with positives and negatives, but they're all definitive. Number one, if there's one clear message I was raised with since I was little, it's you're incredible. You've got so many gifts and you can do anything.
What a gift that is.
What an unbelievable gift. Now, when you're 25 and you're not succeeding, it can lead to a high level of depression.
What an anvil around your neck.
What an anvil around your neck. Exactly. So my wife and I actually had a very concerted conversation. I remember we were up before we had kids late with a couple of bottles of wine. I'm like, what are we going to do? Should we give them the praise? Or is that going to fuck them in the long run? Like, what do we do? And because they were both girls, we decided, let's err on the side of praise.
Yeah.
But try to be...
that's well thought out.
But let's try to just give little doses along the way of like, you're incredible and it's amazing, but also...
Can't wait to see what you do.
These are your gifts. And if like you get to the point in your life where you just like want to like, hang out and enjoy life and not have this insane ambition.
Yeah.
Fine. Because I tell them, like, ambition made me successful. It didn't necessarily make me happier. So just be aware. So anyway, so they did that for us, which was great.
Both of them.
Yes. And then another thing they did, which I they didn't plan this. They were raised lower middle class, and they were busy trying to raise us up a class. My mother stayed home to take care of us. My father got out of the draft by becoming an attorney. He was born in 1945, so that was that time where you could like go to grad school and get out of the draft. And he was like, I'm just going to try and, I don't really like being a lawyer, but I want to raise my family up a class, and I want to send them to school without college debt, which he did. I want to be able to support them when they say they want to be artists, which he did. So that was great. And then this, I guess, look, this is sort of in the zeitgeist right now a little bit, but I say this with full respect. We were summarily ignored in our childhoods in terms of activity planning, in terms of any encouragement to do this or not do that. It was a general belief that you could, but also we're busy. There's a couch and a television and a bike and a neighborhood and be home before dark. And that sense of autonomy and that sense of no one's coming here to tell me what to do was really, really helpful for us.
Yeah.
And I've tried to fabricate some of that for my children. I don't know I've done the best job of it.
Different times.
It's a different time.
Different city.
And they're girls in different cities. You're
Girls.
right. Yep. So those things were really, really critical. And then I would say one thing that they really did that really impressed me was, even as we were going in our mid-20s, and yes, we were making enough money to subsist off of like $700-800 a year in Austin, paying our rents, but still like on our parents' insurance, that whole thing.
Right.
They never said, it's time for backup plan, guys, And my father, I'm very close with my dad. He's 80 now. He is our business manager.
Oh, good.
I asked him when he was like 66. He's kind of a workaholic like I am. He was still living in New Orleans, running his law firm. And I just had my first kid, Aura, and I called him and I was like, hey, we got to talk. I was like, we all know you're going to die at your desk and you probably die happily there. But like, I got this pitch. Like, what if you retire right now? And like, you could come move out to LA and like, you'll know your grandkids. Like I knew my grandparents, but it was, I love you and a hug on Christmas and Easter. And they didn't know me, you know?
Your mom and dad together at that moment in your phone call?
Yeah, and they're still together. Yeah. And I was like, why don't you guys just think about it, you know? 3 weeks later, he shut down the law firm.
Wow.
Moved out, got them a condo here, and they've been here ever since. And it was such a funny moment, and this relates to, again, all those gifts and things that he gave us, because what I noticed in my father, once Jay and I got into our late 20s, early 30s, where we were making those studio movies, I was financially stable enough. I noticed something a little interesting about him. He was excited for us, but he was not as excited to go to work anymore. And I was like, what's going on, you know? And he's like, well, I always felt like if I encourage you guys to become successful artists, the price I had to pay with that was to never retire. Because if you never made any money, I felt like I needed to have a nest egg for you to take care of you, because I unabashedly supported you. And so his God was, let me go to work every day and save up for the boys. And then when we made the living, we destroyed his God. And he was like, I don't know what to do with this. And it was such a weird existential moment for all of us. And I was like, well, this is perfect. Like, come out. Like, I'm supposed to hire a business manager out here that I pay 5% to, and I don't know if I can fully trust them. You're so good with numbers. You're so organized. You're so smart. I also need like legal advice on some of my cheap movies. You can make cheaper little contracts for me than the entertainment attorney. So he kind of became our like consigliere out here. Yeah. But yeah, that little sense of him always being there. I knew if I was going to fall, I was never going to fall that far. He just had me.
That's very cool. We need to give a little shout out to Katie at this point in your story. Signing up, well, before this point in your story, signing up to be with you when it was very fucking unsettled. And
it's worse than you think.
And what a wonderful actor, by the way.
Thank you. I'm going to tell her that, but she's going to listen to this and cry because she loves you so much.
Well, there you go. Okay, that's your second one. You have to do 3 before I really settle down, but thank you. How did that happen?
So we met in Los Angeles. I was living in New York. She was living in LA. I came out to visit a friend because I was just having a tough time. And what I haven't mentioned through all of this, and it doesn't need to be any heavier than what it is that I've been dealing with anxiety and depression my whole life. Right. Much of this undiagnosed and unaware through my early days. Yes, high school, like having panic attacks and being like, I think I ate something wrong. I don't know, just no awareness. And I'm in New Orleans in the 80s and 90s. Yeah. Like it's not on the radar for us, And so I was having a really hard time. I wanted to come visit a friend. Happened to meet Katie, who was a friend of my friend out here. It was on New Year's Eve going 2001 and 2002. And she had sort of recently sworn off men due to some bad relationships. And I had sort of recently sworn off women. And
that's what happened. Sorry, just a parentheses. Mary and I had the exact same conversations with ourselves. Clearly I can fuck up any relationship. Yes. Mary was. Obviously, I'm not relationship material. Who knew? And we found each other.
I'm no good for anybody right now. I need to settle on myself.
Good for you.
And then, but we got hit with the lightning bolt, which I love the lightning bolt of love. I tend to really trust it now. I tend to really break down relationships into 2 categories, which is not 2 categories, they're really 2 things. Like, do you like the way this person smells and tastes? And are you willing to work?
Which is not that's science, by the way, what you just said.
Yeah, and that was it for us. I mean, it was just like, wham,
So true.
But to your previous point of good on Katie for buying early and cheap and investing and holding on to her investment. I mean, not only was I completely unstable, had not gone to therapy yet, and really was emotionally, not dialed in and volatile. And then to top it all off, I had mutton chop sideburns and a soul patch. So she had to kiss that face.
Yeah.
It was a lot.
I was smoking cigars. I can't even fucking believe
Ted.
that Mary would come anywhere near me.
It's incredible.
It is. It was a test on my part. It was a calculated
Let me see
test.
Let me see if we can get this in here. Yeah. Yeah, so she was with me through, this
Yeah.
whole journey of all this stuff. Yeah.
And your brother, just we can nibble or do nothing
Yeah.
about your anxiety and all of that stuff. Your brother was aware of what was going on with you as a kid and was, you're fine, or
No, I wasn't communicating it to him. And he's dealt with it his fair share as well. And he wasn't really communicating it to me. I think that
yeah,
it just wasn't in our vernacular,
Yeah.
And we didn't even know how to identify it, I would wake up in the morning. I remember being like 7 or 8 years old and telling my mom, like, my stomach is so empty. I'm starving. Did I skip dinner last night?
Yeah.
And I didn't know that it was just depression. And she didn't know it either, Now, Jay and I, to that point, though, have had a long journey of intuitively leaning on each other. So while we weren't looking each other in the eye and saying, I've got your back, I know you're dealing with this, it was just like two lions and a pride who just knew what they had to do. And we've always described it as, once we knew we were going to try to do this thing, try to do the impossible to become artists with no connections, there was never an ounce of conflict between us for probably 20 years.
It's a pretty magnificent relationship. I remember hearing about the Duplass brothers before I heard about Mark or Jay.
Yeah.
You were the Duplass brothers.
Yeah. And we were lockstep for, literally from when we were, 5 and 9 years old up until about our mid-30s.
That must have been hard when you went your separate ways, right?
Yes.
Who initiated?
Well,
your brother, right?
So we're, we are still the Duplass brothers under our company umbrella.
What have you produced most recently before this going your separate ways?
I would say probably, before, the thing that sort of really helped precipitate us getting, I call it our conscious uncoupling.
Nice.
was
amicable.
Was our show Togetherness, which Mary was on with us.
Oh, by the way,
on HBO.
Fucking great show.
Thank you.
And she was great in it.
She was great in it.
I loved her in that.
And that show almost killed us. Again, my kids. I shot that right after I met you, shooting The One I Love.
Right.
We wrote and directed every episode. I starred in it. My kids were 3 and 7. Jay's kids were 2 and 6.
Great actor. And all the performance.
And it was so wonderful. And it was the peak of our, creativity together. But at the same time, we were writing a book about ourselves. We were producing all these other movies. I was really, really stretched thin. And so was Jay. And I think Jay has always been a little bit wiser and a little bit more centered than I have been in our creative process, in life in general. And I'm so grateful for him that he has had that. And I think he would tell you right now, he's so grateful that at those times I was less than centered, because I was such a driving force maniac that there's no way we would have been successful without my engine revving the way it did. I pushed him off of every cliff. It was always, I don't know if we should do this. And I was like, let's go, know?
Yeah.
And it was a beautiful, beautiful balance. But I think around this time, Jay started to realize, and he had it tough too. He had the moment where I was an actor and he wasn't for a while. So every party we went to, every industry event,
it's a different deal.
All the eyes would go to me. And he sat in that for like 10 years. And I think he was feeling, I need to individuate now. I think it's time for me to do something. And what we've discovered, even down the line, a few years down the line, is it wasn't just about him, in that self-oriented way, needing to individuate.
Right.
The ways we were going about making our art were starting to diverge. Jay was becoming hungrier and hungrier to create the one everlasting masterpiece movie or TV show. Like, I'll spend 10 years on it to get it right. And I was actually heading in the direction more through my experiences with Charlie, through my experiences with Lynn Shelton making movies, of saying, you know what? Jay and I might be starting to repeat ourselves as collaborators. But if I collaborate with a different person for each project going forward, it'll feel half like me and half like them. And that's probably good. And I don't know how you feel about this, but like, I'm not a crazy driven artist where unless my art is an A+ every time, I don't see the value in it. If I can make some B+ that some people like and some people don't, and make more of them and enjoy the creative process and the being with them, that's where my focus started to go. And I think that was hard for Jay because he's just like, dude, why are we stopping at a B+?
Right.
We should destroy ourselves to make an A+ like we used to. And I was just kind of like, I don't know. I've made like 50 or 60 movies and TV shows. I want to make more of them. I want to be in concert and creative communion with people, but I don't want to die at the altar of this project. And Jay was very like, that's all I want.
Do you remember The Artist's Way?
Yes, of course.
I'll butcher the quote, but it had something to do with your job is not to your job is to be prolific.
Yeah.
You let the, whatever it is, up
that
there.
Is how I feel.
Determine whether it's genius or not.
And I have
just be prolific.
I have been taught that through the responses to my projects. I remember, thinking like, oh my God, Togetherness is going to be like the Emmy-winning show of all time. And it did great. And there were people who loved it, but we didn't go out and win any awards. And at the same time, I'm experimenting in documentaries, producing a documentary with these two young brothers who have only made one thing before that's about this obscure cult in Northern Oregon. And I'm like, oh, this will be kind of interesting. And that show ends up becoming Wild Wild Country, which is the most successful documentary on Netflix, the one that wins us the awards.
I haven't seen it, and I really wish I could sit here and
we don't have to do any of that. I've made so much stuff. You shouldn't.
No,
see
I
it
know,
all.
but yeah, I love hearing that.
But to that point, I love, as an artist, my whole thing is like, I sound like Kevin Costner. I'm making a baseball metaphor. Forgive me, guys, but here we go.
He's cool.
He's cool.
Go for it.
I step up to the plate and I'm like, okay, I'm going to wait for the pitch that I feel like I can hit. I'm not going to try and hit a home run. I'm going to swing my bat. I'm going to put it on the ball. I'm going to sprint as hard as I can to first base and know that I can make it to first base. And then that's each at bat is a piece of art. And then randomly, 1 out of every 10 of those at bats, they're going to overthrow me at first base and it's going to be an in the park home run. And I won't have known why, but it will happen that way. And that's my whole philosophy. And Jay, rightfully so, was like, I love that for you. And now we've come to this beautiful place where, we're a part of everything. His last movie, The Baltimoreans, it was the first movie he wrote and directed on his own. We produced it. I financed for him personally, so he didn't have to feel any of the pressure himself. I was like, let me put the money up and like, you just go do it. And I asked him, like, when do you need me? I'll be there. And he didn't have me breathing down his neck. So we're kind of like rooting each other on from the same sidelines and on the same team. And it's been really healthy until I come back next year and I'm like, whoa, we had a huge fucking fight.
I want my money back.
I want my money back, yeah.
It's hard to, totally different. But when Shelley Long left Cheers after 5 seasons, I thought, oh, fuck. What if it's my dance partner and has nothing to do with me and the whole thing will fall apart.
Did you talk to anybody about that?
Not yet.
Yeah.
You mentioned it somewhere in some interview, I think. But that had to be a moment for you of, oh boy.
Yeah.
I mean, you've described how it was beneficial for both of you.
It was.
But in the moment, it must have been.
Bigger moment for Jay, honestly, because at that moment, I had already had success in collaborations with people like Charlie.
Gotcha.
Before that had happened, Jay was actually the one who pulled the trigger and then hung himself out to dry. So he really put himself on the line for that.
And in this moment of time, and none of my business question, were you in therapy yet?
Definitely. I started therapy.
So you were set.
When I was like 28, I had a real, I think it's fair to call it a nervous breakdown. Like I was experiencing the success of the puffy chair. I finally achieved the zenith, which was to get a feature film at Sundance. And I experienced it in the theater and it was beautiful. And I walked out of that theater and I was like, uh-oh, I'm in trouble because I'm not happy now. I thought this was going to be it.
Yeah.
And
this is one of the coolest things you can say, though, out loud, because this is just a massive truism in life for so many people. you know?
Why? It's so funny. And I actually still fall into that trap a little bit. It's not like I learned it once and I figured it out. I still mess up.
Sure.
But that was really, really hard. And so I just started working harder and harder to, like, I call it recalibrating the mountains. Well, I'll just get some new mountains to climb. And then about a year after that, I had a pretty big nervous breakdown. Was scared to take medication, was scared to go to therapy. Did that whole process. For anyone of you who is interested in getting a therapist, I obviously highly recommend it, but also it's like dating. It can take a few to get the right one. So that was really tough, where I was like, I went and I was like, oh, this isn't working. And I was like, no. Just go on a couple more dates. Like you'll find your person. And then the big journey for me was like, can I take an antidepressant and still be creative and still be vital and alive? And
is my anxiety a driver for my creativity, or can I?
Yes. And there's no empirical answer for everyone. The good and the bad news for me is no matter how heavy the antidepressant I take, nothing's going to fully remove my depression and anxiety. And it has not in any way impeded my creative process. It has actually made me way stronger. And I argue that this little bottom that I have, this little pillow of my lovely 20 milligrams of Celexa that I've been taking for 20 years, it catches me almost, and it's given me a fortitude where I can actually work really well and longer and smarter in a lot of ways.
I don't think we ever get rid of that, either that imprint or that wiring, whichever it is.
Yeah.
You can get it to the point where, I got it, I understand you, I see you, and I know how to continue living life.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Yeah. But
I remember you on the set of The One I Love, and you're playing our therapist, and I remember watching you, and I haven't said any of this here yet, but like, you were in my kitchen my whole life. My parents and I, we sat down and we watched Cheers every night. And we just love you so much, and you brought so much to us. So I was a little nervous, and I remembered you being very nervous. And I remember my first thought was, he's taking care of me. He's trying to pretend that he's nervous because he knows I'm scared, and he's like,
it's so believable,
and he's modeling it. And then the second take was, wow, he's really good at this. And then the third take was like, I can't believe Ted Danson's insecure.
Yeah.
He's scared. He's scared to improvise, and he's nervous after every thing he's done.
They call me the improviser killer. When somebody would chase you up the stairway when you were young and you would get halfway up, you were still leading, but you'd freeze and scream.
Yeah.
That's how I feel with improvisation.
But you were so good. We weren't doing comedic improvising. We weren't looking for jokes.
No.
We were just making the naturalistic dialogue. And you did settle into it and you found it. But that was good modeling for me, by the way, at the time. I loved seeing you just say that out loud. I'm nervous. I'm scared. I suck. it was great. Yeah.
It's a bit, I take it too far. I have this false humility, not nerves. I am always nervous. I'm always scared shitless before I have no need to jump out of an airplane and skydive. I'm terrified.
Yes.
When they say action, in a great way now.
Your life is Halloween Horror Nights.
Yes.
You do not need to go to the theme park. Yes. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway, what a great business. Let's talk about acting for a minute.
Let's do it.
You're a wonderful actor. You really are.
Thank you.
I've loved watching you act. And that's such a different, because usually a lot of times people who write, produce, and act, I don't totally believe that they've lost themselves in some character. I feel like there's an eye watching the whole thing. And I don't see that in you. You're really good.
Thank you.
All right, let's talk about the Creep.
Yeah.
Not Files. I'll keep
Creep tapes.
Creep tapes.
Yes.
And I wrote it down. So sorry, but it's what is the phrase? Because it's like well-known. I can't find it.
Found footage horror.
What? Yes, say it again.
Found footage horror.
I had never heard that, but it's been around.
It's been around, yeah.
Right.
So,
Describe it, though.
About 25 years ago, the Blair Witch Project comes out.
Yeah.
And the whole movie,
Right.
the conceit is that we are watching the videotapes that they were filming out in the woods, and they died out there, and we have discovered these tapes, and we're watching them. And we all kind of believed it, and it destroyed us all. And the movie made $100 million, and it was great.
How long ago was this?
This was 1998, 99, something like that.
All right.
Now we know that it's a format, but we still buy into it.
Yeah.
There's an intimacy about it, like a mockumentary in some ways, you know? But here's why I love the form, because my brain is always working in a combination of business and creative. They're perfectly in concert with each other at all times. And I believe it's the reason why I'm still working today. It's the key to my sustainability, if not my success. And when you're making found footage, it's supposed to not be well lit, and the camera's not supposed to look expensive. So you don't need any lighting crew. You don't need any sound crew. When we go and make the Creep tapes, which is a show we make for Shudder and AMC now.
Second season's coming out.
Second season's coming out, yes. Shortly, November 14th.
Shortly.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm writing a third. I was literally writing the third season right before I came here. And what that means is I get to make this show, the entire cast and crew, 5 people. And they're all my good friends.
Oh my gosh.
And then I get to hire my favorite actor that week who's going to come into my world and get themselves into trouble.
And the conceit of the show is you are the most prolific serial killer who's, I love this, happens to be socially uncomfortable.
He's very socially uncomfortable. And it's using...
But just that phrase is one of the funniest, you know,
it is a horror comedy for sure. And what it is I built this character because I recognized something in myself, which is, you know, I am what some people would call an early hugger. Like, I'll meet you and I really like you, and I might get a little too close, and I might hug you before you're ready to be hugged. And I get excitable. And I'm like a little boy, and I see a connection coming, and so I just lean in. And I've noticed sometimes that I can make people a little uncomfortable with that. So I just took that and I was like, what if I just fucking dial this up to like 15 and have fun with it and have my own therapy in the process? And rather than try to have to tamp this thing down in myself all day long, I'll have 3 weeks a year where it's his Christmas and he just gets to let his freak flag fly. And here's the best part about it. Yes.
You're a serial killer.
And I'm a serial killer. Yes. And the fun part about it, though, getting back to the process, which as I get older, like the process is almost as important as the product to me, you know, because what are we doing this for? So what we do is...
Because you do work long hours.
Yeah, exactly.
It's tiring.
Yeah. And so the conceit of the show is, you know, he'll hire someone to film him for the day under some false conceit, and you'll start to realize, oh, this is probably a little bit of a lie. And he always rents a different Airbnb or
wait, what is the full conceit to the person he hires?
So
I need you to hire. Film me doing what?
The first film that we made for Netflix was he says, I have a brain cancer. My wife is pregnant, and I need you to make a film for me for my unborn son, like the beautiful movie My Life with Michael Keaton. That's his favorite movie that's ever been made. And slowly but surely throughout the course of the day, this guy starts to catch me in a couple of little lies, and then he loses his car keys.
Is he a character, or is he just behind the camera?
He's a character. He's a character too.
How does he get on camera?
But sometimes I take the camera. Sometimes the camera gets set down. You know, because you know my character fancies himself a bit of a filmmaker. You know, he's been around the lens. And it's so fun to make, but we go, and because, you know, in order to not get caught, my character rents a different Airbnb each time. So I literally go on Airbnb, I rent a place, the 5 of us go up, we live in it and shoot in it at the same time.
You, Mark, do this.
Yes, I do this.
Oh, I got you. Yes.
And we shoot an episode every like 2 or 3 days, you know, and it's
do they know you're going to do that?
Yeah, I have to let them know legally, you know. But it's great. It's a really cool process, and I think that to that point I made earlier about why I wanted to make a $100,000 movie with Charlie, it's connected to that same thing that I'm trying to say, deeply rooted to that 14-year-old boy who showed up in Austin and saw Richard Linklater for the first time doing a Q&A, and that wild-eyed sense of wonder and sense of play. That's really important to me. But because I'm also a human being, I know that if I do too much of that, I'll start to complain, and I'll start to say, God, it'd be nice to have a fucking budget and not to have to hang lights. Then I get to go do the morning show. and I'm spoiled.
You're really, really, really good in that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's why I said morning show. I was hoping you would give me that.
Yeah, but wait, what is the scene? Everyone shouts out. Is there a voice message you leave, or you're leaving a voice message? I was watching that this morning.
Oh,
yeah, you're really good. Anyway,
but that's fun for me because I get to do that, and there's a burrito waiting for me, and they take care of me, and then I do that.
Nice gig.
I do that for a few weeks, and then I'm like, I miss scrapping with my friends. So that whole grass is greener mentality of ping-ponging back and forth between those two things keeps me relatively healthy.
I have to say, this podcast, I know the world has a podcast. Maybe this could turn into a murder thing. I wonder. Oh.
So easily.
Oh.
Crossover episode with
Actually,
Creep
guess what, Mark?
So congratulations.
But this does it for me too. I love acting. I'll never not want to act. But this is fun.
I wanted to honestly ask you, because I watched you kind of get very prolific in the last 10 years or so. And if there was a conscious decision, impetus, or it was just more serendipity of, oh my God, I did this, and here comes the boom of television, and I'm back in, and I'm enjoying it, or was there a part of you that had any existential moment where you're like, damn it, I missed this. I want to do it. I want to do it all the time because you're so busy.
Yeah, you know this. You appear busier than you really are.
Sure.
You can spend 3 months making something, and not anymore. Jesus, you spend 3 months making a Netflix show, and boom, it's out there, and the world's seen it, and next.
Mm-hmm.
And this actually suffices. I am so happy. What happened in the last 7 years is I met Mike Schur.
Yeah.
Granted, the first thing he said to me is, you're one of my favorite comedic actors ever. So I'll give you, he did that right off the bat thing that seems to work with me.
Yeah. Yep. Noted.
But boy, did I listen to him when he described The Good Place. And I couldn't even quite recreate what he was talking about, but I wanted to be with that brain, that purposefulness.
Well, he's special.
He's very special. And so I got to work with him. And so trying to find the giggle, I do love that process. I love, every once in a while it's nice to go do Fargo or something, but I do love thoughtful, funny, that makes you think.
Yeah.
And he does that so well. And so I still get to work with him. I've done 2 seasons on this Netflix, The Man on the Inside.
Yeah,
and
with Mary Elizabeth,
So it's really, it's also him.
Yeah, it's him.
Yeah,
I think that's great. All right, I have to ask you one more question, if that's okay.
Please.
Okay. When I was talking about my father wanting to make sure he had enough money for us and work himself into the grave, your eyes blew open. For those of you who are watching it, they're going to look back and see it. But something deeply resonated in there. And I remember enough of talking with you when we were more in each other's orbits making the movie 10 years ago, that, part of you taking CSI was thinking about taking care of everyone. So I want to know.
Can I tell you the CSI moment?
Yeah. Yes.
Sitting we're blessed.
Yeah.
We met the families on Martha's. This is my way of saying we have a house in Martha's Vineyard, but we were thinking, we're going to have to sell it.
Yeah.
And some friends said, you can't sell it. I said, well, we're trying not to. I'm just hoping something, and I literally something happens. But let's finish dinner and go across the street and go to the movie. The lights come down. My phone lights up. I go, I just have to take this from my manager. And my manager says, do you want to be on CSI? And I went, yes.
Yeah.
hung up the phone and watched the movie.
Yes.
So it was a blessing. And it was the hardest thing I've ever done because it's not a giggle. And you're looking at charred corpses, but I love the actors and the writers and the crews and the camaraderie. I loved it. It was a big deal.
But I'm gonna challenge you briefly on the false modesty there. That wasn't just for you and your house. You take care of quite a few people.
We do. But it's but there's a way I could do it. Here's Mary and I have no business brain at all. If we save money because something was on a sale, we go, we just saved $10.
Yeah.
Let's go
Let's
spend
go blow it, baby. Yeah.
We do not have that brain at all. So I think my motto in life is it's just make enough that you can be stupid, Ted, about money.
Okay.
And the truth is, I love work. I want to, knock on wood, I want to be able to find out what it's funny, what it's like to be funny at any age I'm given.
Yeah.
So I want to keep going and going and going until I don't. Working, I mean, those friends, going back to your friends, you want to go make something because those for me, relationships around work are the most delicious.
It's so interesting. I find that too. I've actually questioned whether it was unhealthy of me that my favorite way to commune with people and my friends is actually in the creative process.
Me too.
And I'm like, why don't I just ask them to dinner? We can just do that. But I actually prefer that particular concert. I haven't actually looked into that, but I haven't had that reflected back to me the way you just said it before.
That's me.
There's something about it. Yeah.
So may we both all work for as long as we possibly can.
Yes.
All right. Now, a couple more things.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right.
I noticed that you did a GoFundMe thing for the fire victims or people that had to deal with being out of their homes or whatever to get them computers. Am I getting that right?
We did.
You Googled it?
We went into this sort of independent filmmaker mode when it all happened because I was noticing they were raising all these monies, but the money, they weren't being deployed because of just the red tape. And so I was like, well, let's just start triaging. That's what you do in independent film. So the first thing I did was I ran a national gift card drive because everyone was living in hotels. And so I had people all around the country send me their gift cards that they didn't use or that their mom gave them or whatever. And we got like $100,000 of gift cards to this little P.O. box. And I would partner with churches and schools in the area and just say, just get these out, get them into people's hands.
That's brilliant.
It was so simple. I was just like, let's just do it. And a $30 P.O. box later, and it was just like, bam, And then from there, I reached out to Amazon and I said, look, these people are starting to move back in their homes. Can you give me some credit? I'll fulfill some wish lists for people and I'll say Amazon's cool. I'll make you look good, you know? So they gave us some money. We got some computers through Microsoft. We got some like Nintendo Switches through some, for the kids who are missing that stuff. And it was a really cool way for me to put some of that energy. And I think there's just there's a part of me that every now and then questions, because my parent, this is just being very vulnerable and honest, like a life of service.
Yeah.
That is a big part of my root, and that I feel like I don't necessarily haven't strayed from it, but I don't want to be on my deathbed and look back and be like, did I really spend my life focusing on my vision for my movies and my, and so that's a little insurance for me or something like that, And that was we had a great run with that. And,
brilliant. I also loved for the trans community, the found footage fund. What?
Yeah. We set up
Describe that. What does that mean?
We set up a $25,000 grant for the with the Transgender Film Center, which basically, turns out this administration has not been as excited to support trans rights as we might have hoped. So, what it is. The money that they pay us to do these television shows is so stupid. Yeah. It's so stupid. So when my friend Lynn Shelton passed away, we had identified that, when everyone talks about up-and-coming filmmakers, they always say young filmmakers. But Lynn didn't make her first movie until she was 40. So we set up a grant for her that was in her honor that said, it's the woman of a certain age grant. So it's for female or non-binary folks over the age of 40 making their first movie. And I said, this has been really
great. Who did that? You said?
It's me and the Northwest Film Forum, my friend Josh Leonard, a bunch of us who loved Lynn. And so I thought, this is a great way. With very little money, we raise a lot of awareness. We give a lot of support. But here's the coolest part. I'm actually tricking these folks in some way, which is everybody gets an application together to try and make their movie for $25,000. They have to design a movie that can be made for $25,000. Only one of them wins it, but at least 500 people have a perfectly built movie that can be made for 25 grand. And then they just go on Kickstarter and Seed and Spark and they raise the money themselves. So by actually saying one person wins, like 200 of these projects, they feel heard, they feel seen, and they get made.
I'm kind of falling for you, Mark.
Okay.
Man, that's really a big hug. We'll do it off camera.
Yeah.
But that's brilliant. Your entrepreneurial side of you. That's brilliant.
I'm
that's
glad
so
you
smart.
Brought up first of all, thank you. I'm glad you brought up the entrepreneurial thing, because that's, I think, part of the fun of this business for me too, is I actually like the little gamesmanship. And everybody's always like, Mark, why are you funding your own projects? Why don't you get money? And like, the obvious answer is, yes, I don't want bosses. I don't want cooks in the kitchen. I want to be able to control it. But there's this little guy in me that's just like, I like the gamesmanship. I like looking at it as a little startup and seeing what I can sell it for and turning the profit.
Because you did that from day one.
It's fun. It is. It's fun. So, yeah.
I often think sometimes where brilliant film directors, all of a sudden they're getting $150, $200 million to do something. And part of you goes, gee, I wish somebody gave them $5 million to make the film.
It's funny you mentioned that. I've never even said this before, but I am actually I'm working on an initiative right now because filmmakers are so frustrated right now and not being able to make what they want because the industry is taking a downturn. I want to go back to a bunch of A-list filmmakers and say, look, I did with Charlie. I got $100,000. I'll fund the whole thing. You can do whatever you want. I'll teach you how to make a low-budget movie if you forgot, and I'll give you my low-budget cameras. Do you still remember how to do this? Do you want to do this? I think that a slate of movies like that,
so sellable.
It would be so fun.
Netflix would
they go crazy for that.
Grab it.
They go crazy for that. Yeah.
One more.
Okay.
If you had this is all airy-fairy. Okay.
Right.
If you had a North Star, a guiding light, your heart, what is it that what is that for you? Besides the creative side of you?
I will tell you exactly what it is. The most deeply meaningful and important thing to me in my life is my family, 100%. But it's a particular version of family. My parents, my 2 daughters, my wife, my 3 dogs, we've gotten into this little habit as we've gotten busier in life where my parents will come and watch my daughter play volleyball at one of her games, and they'll come over afterwards at like 4:00. And I will order the 2 family Zankou chicken meal that costs like maybe $45, even though we could afford to go to all these great restaurants. And we all share this little chicken meal together, and we play some new card game, and we gather around the table, and we spend about 2.5 hours together. And there's some kind of joking and regaling of this story, and being in the sandwich of my children and my parents, and knowing that this time in my life is limited, when we're going to be able to do this. It's the first time where I've really ever been able to just be present and so deeply grateful that I am here. Everything else for me has been like, I'm building towards something. Yes, it's going to be great. It's something about the Zankou nights. So that is my North Star. And I hope to be able to do that in other places with friends, maybe even with my kids and their kids. That would be incredible.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Really appreciate it.
This is awesome.
Yeah. I'm glad I caught up with you because I only got you peripherally, to be honest. And
there was always love and understanding there, but now we got some words on it.
Yeah. Thank you.